If you've ever asked yourself, how can I get the swing and the golf game that I've always imagined without trying every tip, every training aid, watching every video after video on social media, then this podcast is for you. Welcome. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the IMAGEN Golf Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by IMAGEN Golf and PXG. All right, welcome back. I am super excited to welcome Todd Graves to our podcast today. Kind of a little bit of a man crush for me, Todd. I got to tell you, man, I'm super excited to have you on. And we do a lot at IMAGEN Golf to kind of model what you guys do in a similar way. We don't teach, the 10 positions of golf swing and all that garbage and stuff like that. We only worry about the efficiency of a golf swing, and that's right up your alley. So welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. This is great. Thanks for letting me join you.
Yeah. Todd, you got an amazing story, man. You were a professional golfer there for a while, right? Our stories are kind of similar. I never made it to the pro ranks. I was in the mini tours down in Florida, like 3 and 4 levels deep, man. And I could shoot par no problem on a Sunday with my buddies, but under competition, man, that par was like a 79, and these guys were throwing up 67s, man. So I had to go to the corporate golf route, meaning I was in corporate America and then did deals on the golf course. I did that for 30 years. You took a little different tact in that you decided, look, hey, I'm not going to be able to make this anymore. I love golf, but I'm not going to be able to make it on the tour, it sounded like. And you said you wanted to go into instruction, and then you paired up with a company. Tell us about your journey, if you would, before you got to Graves.
Yeah, no, kind of journeyman like you. I played golf at the University of Oklahoma. I mean, I was a really good high school player. Didn't really aspire much to. I didn't really have ambitions to play college golf. I don't know. I had some college scholarship offers, but my family was very much. My dad was an educator. My dad was a PhD in microbiology, taught at the medical school. My mom was an educator, so I figured, who knows what I was going to do. I was the golf kid in the family that was just loving the game of golf, and so I kind of just went my own way, and I ended up at Oklahoma State University, and then, I thought, I'll try to get on the team at Oklahoma State. Obviously, that was at a time when Oklahoma State was the best program in the country. Scott Verplank, Bob Tway, all those guys, and so. Very tough to get in that program. I wasn't at that skill level to play at that level, and then I ended up going down to OU, and I was sitting in the I was working at a club at the University of Oklahoma, and walking out to the 10th hole was Todd Hamilton and a guy named David Sheffield. And I told the pro there, I said, hey, you mind if I run out and play with these guys? We're not very busy in the club today. And he goes, yeah, just go play with these guys. So I got there and I ended up playing with Todd, and I think I beat Todd by a couple of shots. And Todd says, who are you and what are you doing down here? And I said, well, I was at Oklahoma State trying to get on the team there, couldn't really play there. And he goes, well, let me have the assistant coach, a guy named Jim Begwin. You might know Jim. Jim called me, and Jimmy called me and said, hey, we're going to have a walk-on tournament here at OU. Do you want to play in the walk-on tournament? I said, sure. I said, so I ended up winning the walk-on tournament by one shot, which was making a 10-footer on the last hole.
That's amazing.
And I walk off the green, and Jimmy says to me, he goes, thank God you made that putt. And I said, why? He goes, because we had this whole walk-on thing for you to get you on the team. We needed a reason to get you on the team. So that's how I ended up getting on the University of Oklahoma team. I think I could misspeak here, but I was talking to my coach who coached me at University of Oklahoma the other day. We're still good friends. And he said, I said, I think I'm the first walk-on at Oklahoma. He goes, yeah, you're the first walk-on to ever get in that program. So I walked on Oklahoma. Awesome. I wasn't a great player. I was super excited to play at OU because I got to be around guys like Todd Hamilton and Doug Martin and Glenn Day and, Grant Waite and the guys that were just much better than me. But I could learn so much from those guys. And I got to where I could compete with those guys. I played in the Asian Tour in 1991.
Yeah.
Todd Hamilton helped me get over to Asia, so I played in Asia in 1991. And again, a rookie, I made 7 out of 11 cuts, which is good. You don't want to fly to Asia and miss all the cuts, so I did okay.
No money.
Again,
there's no money in it.
Yeah, no, it's like the game. I was trying to figure out if I could get good enough to play the game. I think my biggest challenge was that I wasn't an experienced junior player. My family didn't have the money to play the AJGA stuff. I just played local events. I was a really good local player. I won almost everything locally, but I just never really got to the national level as a kid. So I was really just gaining experience, and I really, to be honest with you, I looked at golf that way. I looked at it just keep gaining experience, and so it wasn't about winning tournaments to me. It was about get as much experience as I can, and I did that for, as a journeyman for a number of years. I played really well my last year in the 6 events. I think I had a chance to win in all 6 events going into the last 9 holes. I didn't win any of them, but
Yeah.
I got pretty dang good, skill level wise as a player, but I was also 34 years old, and,
I know, right?
and you get to that age where, and I don't think people understand, you get to this thing where you get married, you start wanting to have a family, you don't wanna be on the road sitting in hotel rooms no matter, when you're playing great, it's a blast, right? When you're playing
Right.
great, making money, but when you're missing cuts out there on the road and you're away from your family and your relationships are falling apart. So that's kind of the journeyman of golf, and I went through all that. But what
Yeah.
happened in as I was going towards the end of that, um, and if I back up a little bit, when I was playing on the Asian tour, um I realized that I wanted to become a better ball striker, so when I came back in '91 from Asia, I started working with some of the best instructors I could find. All the Hank Haney's of the world, the David Ledbetters, all those guys that were the best, and I still think they're some of the best instructors in the world. And, I didn't get any better. I got worse, and I really started questioning I the the way my brain works is I'm a systems guy. I like there to be answers and systematic approaches to things, and there wasn't enough answers for me. One day it was stand closer to the ball, the next day it was stand further away, the next day it was put your hand on top, next day it was turn your hand under, next day it was, and I was like, "Gosh, there's just so many variables to this." And so, in about 1994, I was like, I this is too confusing. I'm not getting any better. I'm frustrated. My sponsors were getting ready to back out. I had no money. I was bartending in Dallas, Texas, trying to figure out if I could make enough money to go play a tournament here and there.
Right.
And and Matthew Lane, you might know that name, Matthew Lane.
Yeah.
Matthew is one of my better friends, and I'd been to New Zealand with Matthew. He's from New Zealand, and Matthew had just played the Canadian tour, and he I was living in Dallas, and he goes to my apartment, and he says, he shows me this video, and he goes, "You gotta see this video I have." And it was Moe Norman hitting golf balls, and
Yeah.
now, you knew about Moe, and I know about Moe, but Moe was this mythical character that was even real, right? Because he never really he would hang out in Florida in the winters, and he was in Canada all the time, and he was known as this kind of reclusive guy but Matthew was the kind of person that could get close to a guy like Moe, so he's hung out with Moe for a day, hitting balls with him, and had a videotape of it, and I'm watching this swing, and it was, I drew a plane line. I just drew a plane line on the club shaft because, Hank Haney and all these guys were saying, "Gotta swing the club on plane," Ben Hogan and all this stuff.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, then I draw this plane line on Moe, and he basically starts it, takes it back, and impacts exactly on the same line. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I
Right.
I just made so
And
much sense to me.
and way flatter, right? I mean, way more flatter.
Yeah, I mean, it was just all in line. I was like, "No wonder he's so good because he never deviates from the plane line," and I just started seeing this. I'm like, "This is really the way a golf club should be swung." So I started doing that for a year from 1993 to 94. I just mimicked what I saw on that videotape. Now, granted,
Yeah.
I was going to Hank Haney studios every day hitting balls, right? So Hank's watching this crap, and I've been working with Hank for 3 years, and Hank's
Yeah.
just like, what are you doing? This is stupid. This is crazy," And I'm like,
Well, and
one
Hank's
of the
pretty
greatest.
straightforward. He's a pretty straightforward dude,
Yeah,
right?
Hank, I love Hank, and he was just ragging on me all the time and going,
Yeah.
but Hank helped me a lot. Hank was really beneficial for me because I wouldn't understand swing playing without Hank. I didn't really understand what
Yeah.
was going on, so I give Hank a lot of credit for helping me understand what I saw in Mo, actually. So I practiced like this, and then I got involved with a company called Natural Golf, and Natural Golf just happened to stumble. Things are kinda, what do you wanna say, they're serendipitous in a lot of ways because as I'm living in Dallas, Texas, my sponsors had built a massive driving range. They were into golf, so they were the same sponsors of Lee Trevino back in the day. So these guys had built a big driving range down there in Dallas, Texas, and I'd practice out there, and just so happened the founder of this company called Natural Golf shows up, and he's talking about Moe Norman. Well, so we connect, and pretty soon I'm in Chicago, Illinois, at a clinic with Mo. But remember, I've been practicing like him for a year. So
Yeah.
Mo does the clinic. I'm 28 years old, and I see Mo hitting balls, and it was remarkable. And I do not do a good job explaining watching a 64-year-old man, because Mo was 64 at the time, literally stripe golf balls out of, it was a crappy driving range we were hitting off of, and just rip them dead straight, never miss a shot. The trajectory of the ball, the sound of, I remember the sound of the golf ball was just like like the tour players, just remarkable sounds. And then the ball, the trajectory of the golf ball, and then watching it just go at the target every single time and do it with such simplicity. And when he finished the clinic, I walked up to him and I said, Mo, you're the best I've ever seen. You're the best in the world. He goes, I know I'm the best in the world. I said, well, well, how did you learn to do that? And we got in this conversation. But after about 20 minutes, I said, do you mind if I hit a couple of your clubs? Because his clubs are laying around.
Yeah.
I started hitting his clubs and he looked at me and he goes, it's me without a belly. It's me without a belly. So we connected. And so for the next 10 years, I just really got fascinated by Mo. I got fascinated by what he had figured out. I think I look at his swing as a discovery, because not as a method. A lot of people think, well, there's all these different methods, but the human body is designed a certain way, and the body has joints and muscles and things. And with Mo, not if you look at him, you'd say that's not a conventional golf swing, but it's anatomically correct golf swing. And so I looked at it from that perspective of how he simplified the use of the body to hit a golf ball. And that's really what I've been doing for the last 20 something years, is teaching people what I've discovered through what Mo discovered, but just trying to give him a voice and give his swing a voice, because it really simplifies the golf swing. And now I've done a lot of research and science behind it. I've built 3D systems where you can get on the computer and learn it. I've done tons of stuff to teach it, but that's really what my message has been, and my mission has been, is to teach people what Mo is doing, which is the easiest way to hit a golf ball.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there. It's so funny how our lives have kind of intertwined. I likewise got a copy of Mo's a VHS copy back in the day of a clinic he did in some funky looking shirt. His clubs were all over the place, and he's just hitting golf ball after golf ball after golf ball. And I was at that same kind of point where I was struggling with my golf game. I was looking for anything to push me over the edge, right? I had been to every clinic you mentioned. I've been there. Um, and what I found was everyone was a little bit different, and that struck me as odd. I played a high level ice hockey, and I'd been to multiple clinics as well in schools all over the nation, and they all taught relatively the same. And it kind of resonated with me, like, hey, golf is hard, but it's not that hard. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like, why are we doing things different? Why does every guru have a different approach to it, man?
yeah,
Um, and that was odd to me. I stumbled across Natural Golf, kind of like their promo videos and stuff like that. And I even tried some of that stuff. I never really committed to it 100% though. It was different. It was definitely different.
yeah,
And I was already a good golfer. I just
yeah.
wasn't great. So, talk to us about a little bit about that transition, right? Someone comes to you, they're struggling with their game. I think you've said it before. I've said it a million times. People peak normally within 3 years, right? And they don't get any better. Golf handicaps haven't changed for 40 some years for a reason. Golf instruction hasn't changed for a long time, man. Someone comes to you, they're probably frustrated, they're looking for something. How do you take that person and get them to buy in, or are they already bought into the single plane?
Most of the people that will show up here have some sort of buy-in to the single plane. I'm sure there's people online that are looking at it like you, like when you saw it for the first time and said, "Okay, it
Yeah,
looks different. What is this?" And they're in the curiosity phase of what you know, kind of learning about it. But by the time they end up on my doorstep here, they're like, "Hey, I'm all in it." And maybe it's from frustration. I'm just
right.
frustrated. Kind of like you and me. We're frustrated. That's what drove me to it as well. But there's some little bit to unpack there. Like, here's where I am now, and 10 years ago, I would have probably had a different answer for this. But um, you saw the same thing I saw in golf. There's all these different swings. There's these different theories. Uh, there's different methodologies. We all understand we got to get the club to impact, right? That you got to get the club to the moment of impact, and whoever gets there more consistently, it can hit a ball, become a great ball striker. Now, of course, ball striking isn't all to the game. You got to chip and putt and score and all those things. So ball striking is it's an element of the game. From a fun factor, however, though, what I have found is from a fun factor, ball striking is one of the most important things, because if you hit it like crap, golf's no fun, right? Especially if
Right.
you drive it like crap. So what I've kind of learned is that, okay, listen, people come to me because they want to hit a golf ball better. Great. That's kind of my niche. And look, my brother is fantastic at teaching short game. I think I'm pretty good at teaching short game too. I just don't do it very much. But I love helping people move the golf club better and swing it better. So the two things that I think are problematic with what's going on with golf instruction. Number one is what is being taught. The actual methodology is being taught. I think they're violating some basic principles of anatomy. And then and at, and because of that, the swings are all different, because it's like we're trying to solve a problem, get to impact, but the anatomy is in a place where we have to make multiple compensations to do so. And so you see variation in movement. So I think that's one thing that goes on. That's what I call conventional swing, 2 planes versus Moe's single plane. So that's one thing that's going on. The other thing that's going on that people probably don't recognize a lot is that how it's being taught. I had a guy come out this morning for some instruction. I've worked with him a few times, and he's out there pounding golf balls. And you're just not going to make changes doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's just not common
Right.
sense. So how do you go from how do I change your golf swing? Well, I've got to change the positions your body is in. I mean, period. I mean, it's just no other way. I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, because I've got to get the club to move differently. That's what hits the ball. So how do you get people to move differently? You have to teach them a new position of their body. And then that's it. And so what I built what I call a progressive training formula, which is not only a formula for learning. If you're a golfer beginning to learn the game, I would put you through this formula. If you came to me and you wanted to just improve your swing, this formula works for that. So I built this formula where you just walk through this process and you build the swing out. And then it helps you monitor your swing, helps you check your positions of your swing. You can easily see if you're on plane or not on plane. And it focuses on that plane line. And so that's the two things I think people have to consider. Number one is what are you doing? What are you doing strategically to change your swing? Because you're not going to get better unless you change something.
Right.
And number two is the method that I had a guy that was working with some really well-known instructors. He's a CFO of a huge company. And he came to me. Well, I met him in Pebble Beach. And I watched him play. He asked me for help on the course, and I never do that. If I meet you the first
Same.
time, I will never give you advice on the course. I'll wait till we're
Same.
off the course. You won't do it
Yep.
either.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And so finally we get off the course, and he goes, "Hey, what do you think?" And I said, "Listen, what you're doing anatomically is almost impossible." I said, because I could tell. I mean, I've seen a zillion golf swings. He was trying to put his wrist what he had been taught. I'm like, I'm just telling you, I don't like talking negatively about other instruction, and I
Yep.
just won't do it. But I just know anatomy and I know enough about how the human body is designed, and I say, "What you're doing now is almost impossible." I mean, you can maybe get it done, but I don't know if you're not gonna injure yourself. I said, so he flies to Oklahoma, and literally in 30 minutes, I had him swinging it on plane, and in his mind, he was like, "This is completely opposite of what they were telling me." I'm like, "I know. I know. Look, body has ranges of motion. I'm working within the body's limits. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. But
Yeah.
we overcomplicate this thing like crazy. Oh, shallow the club, roll your wrist, supinate the
Yeah.
wrist. All these. Oh God, it's just that's just there's
Yeah.
no way we can get there.
We talk
So
about it every day, man. I'm a Titleist level 3 instructor, and one of the things that I think helped me the most was just understanding biomechanics, right? Not a golf swing, but biomechanics. And I say the same thing to people all the time. Look, we don't teach a golf swing here, right? We are not as structured as said you are, right? But we teach a format. We say, look, the body moves this way. The golf swing is one big physics equation, whether you like it or not, right? And I don't care what you were taught before. Like to your point about shallow, if I hear "shallow the club" one more time, I'm going to strangle somebody, right?
I am too.
Right?
I am
Um,
I am too.
we yeah, we teach people to move better because we're all wired the same, right? Our genetics are different and how we move might be different, but we are all wired the same. So once we get somebody and we identify what their biggest challenge is, dude, that's all we work on.
That's
And
it.
we
That's it.
and we
And
get them to swing on
you're doing
plane all the time.
you're doing exactly what I think needs to be done in golf instruction is speak on the level and understand the level of biomechanics. That how are they not teaching that in the PGA? Why isn't that like a requirement is understand the anatomy of the body and how it works? It should be it should be in the first part of the manual, but the PGA teaching manual hasn't been updated in 30 years, right?
Here it is.
I got it over here too. That thing. I mean, it's not all bad in there, by the way. I don't want to say
No,
it's all bad.
agreed.
It's not all
I
bad.
totally agreed.
But the instruction in there is so antiquated, and so anyway, you're right, and just from you digging into just how the body works, you're already helping people. That's the only way you can, and if you don't understand the body, how can you understand how people I'm like, I can watch a swing. I can walk say I walk in my office, and I can see if he's had knee surgery, if he has a foot injury, the way his
Yeah.
shoulders are. I can say you're injured. I can tell because I've seen the human body move so many different ways and compensate in so many different ways swinging a golf club. You can watch a guy put the club in position and go, "What's wrong with your shoulder?"
Yeah.
Right? You can tell. And so that's the level golf should be taught at, because if we don't understand the human body, how do we understand how the human body moves? Because then we avoid injury. I worked with a guy named Tom House. Do you know Tom?
I don't know Tom, but I've heard of him.
Tom is known as the throwing doctor. He's well known for teaching Nolan Ryan, but he teaches baseball, me batting and pitching, and he's a coach at USC. But Tom came in here and was showing kinematic sequence movement of Nolan Ryan next to Tiger Woods' kinematic sequence movement, and so I just became fascinated by the science of rotational athletes, and I went and worked with them for a number of months to understand biomechanics, and from that perspective too, not just from golf, but from that perspective, I think that right there would solve a lot of problems with golf instruction in the industry, just that understanding alone, just instructors having some knowledge of that.
Yeah, I agree. Your question about like why the PGA doesn't do it, it always baffles me. But now that I'm in it I've only been in instruction for 10 years full time, basically, right? And in 10 years, we have 5,600 students. We have, number one in the state, top 100. So I know what we're doing is good, right? Um, I think the PGA is like this big aircraft carrier that is hard to turn that aircraft carrier quickly, right? And they are so steeped in this tradition, if you would, right? And they've been preaching it for so long. I kind of understand it, but then there's other side of me that says, look, man, we got all this data now, we got all this analytics, we know better, right? We
Yeah,
know there's not 10 positions of a golf swing, right?
yeah, yeah,
There's not ten positions to shoot a foul shot. Why in the world would there be 10 in a golf swing, you know?
yeah.
Um, you're you taking your business to the next level, man. You've written books, you got training clubs, you started out of a truck. I don't think people know that, right? You literally bought a truck and started, you and your brother around the country, right? Talk
Yeah.
about that. Hey guys, it's Daniel here. Hey, thanks for listening first and foremost. Handicaps haven't changed in over 35 years for one reason and one reason only. Traditional golf instruction just doesn't work. So if you're serious about getting that swing and game that you've always imagined, take a look at our site, imagengolf.com. Join our members only club. Check out my video series or even take a virtual or in-person lesson with me. There is no one who's more passionate about making you better in the industry, and I guarantee you'll golf better, guaranteed, or everything is free.
Yeah, well, so my brother and I were both playing mini tour events and running around trying to get our games together, and because I had built somewhat of a reputation with Mo that we would often get asked, "Hey, why don't you teach while you're out doing some events?" So I was trying to actually teach and play a little bit, and it got to the point where I really couldn't do both, but we would get invited, my brother and I would get invited to teach at, groups of people. So we were like, "Okay, well, heck, what we'll do is we'll put some equipment in a trailer and we'll drive to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we'll teach these 10 people," right? So
Yeah.
and then we got back and we're like, "I made more money doing that and than I did in that last tournament I played in."
And
We
probably
did
had
pretty
more
well.
fun.
And we had more fun. We got to meet 10 guys. I had a blast with them.
Right.
So all of a sudden now we started this like little remote traveling program where we go, we could drive in one day to get back to our home. So we'd go out there and teach these schools. We built this little hub, and of course we were working with Natural Golf as well, helping teach the single plane swing. And we just built this little mini business, teaching golf, and then it kind of just scaled from there. I mean, we started developing our own videos and our own training aids, and pretty soon I had an instruction company. And then, now I bought a golf course. Heck, I bought a golf course 3 years ago. And that's where we're now. I built a training center out of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, we just scaled it from there. And it, I was on a business podcast last week talking about the growth of an entrepreneur and how you grow a business. And it's just having a really good idea in that singular focus on just an authentic idea that works, and just really focusing on that and building out just a great product from that idea. And I don't know if you know a guy named Todd Herman, but
Yeah.
Todd wrote a book called The Alter Ego Effect. Todd's a really good friend of mine. He's been a help in my own business life. And Todd said, I was at a conference of Todd's, and I was sitting up front, and a golf instructor came up to me and said, "Todd, you've had a lot of success as a coach and a teacher. Um, how, because we were sharing ideas of how to help each other's businesses." And he goes, "Todd, how can you help me?" And I said, "Well, what do you teach?" And he said, "Well, I teach juniors." I'm like, "Okay." but what do you teach? What's different between what you're gonna do and the guy down the street's gonna do? Like, what's
Right,
differentiates you from the average guy? Are you teaching out of the PJ teaching manual, right? I mean,
right.
are you just a generic teacher, or do you have a specific thing that I'm gonna only learn from you? And he didn't have it, and I was like, there's your start. What can I only learn from you? What are you gonna teach me that only can get from you? And then you
Yeah,
got a business, right? And that's really what I did is I said, I certainly 100% believe without him teaching is the easiest way to hit a golf ball, and then I just have scaled that, and then, the other side of that is I look at it like we're a rock band, that we're reinventing it all the time. We're teaching the same thing, but we're reinventing ways to communicate it, and so we keep coming out with new albums all the time, new
yeah,
ways to
that's a good
present it.
way.
But I think the reinvention is important. It keeps me excited about it, right? And it keeps the
Yeah.
business kinda fresh. So I think you have to do that every couple of years where you reinvent it. That's what I came out with my recent book is just kind of a reinvention and a new approach to teach the same thing, but just a new way to do it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the book in a second. It's funny you say that. When I quit my corporate job, actually, corporate America, I always tell the story, kind of quit me. I was in my 50s. They didn't want me around anymore and was just looking for an excuse to get rid of me. So when I had an opportunity to take a package, Todd, I did, and went full time into golf instruction. And as you know, man, you just don't hang your shingle and people start coming.
Mm,
It's not easy,
no.
right? So I got a bunch of certifications, and that kind of helped me. And then I was pretty good at marketing. That helped me. And then we came up with this concept that said, look, golf better guarantee. You come and see us. We guarantee you're going to get better in this one lesson, or you don't have to pay. And I remember my wife going, "You really think you could deliver on that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I can." Right? If I can't,
Yeah.
I gotta give the money back. And
Or you
and
gotta
that
get
really,
better. Yeah.
yeah, no doubt. And we absolutely deliver on that to this day. And we've given almost 70,000 lessons as a company, man, and no one's asked us for a refund. So I know, to your point, that's what we do better than most. We can look at someone's swing and say, okay, you need to fix this first. And forget all that noise. Forget the shallowing of the club that you've been taught, right? You need to get this fixed, right? And once people start buying into that and work on the biggest thing that they need, that Hank calls it the big miss. He wrote a book on it as well, right? But once you start focusing only on that big miss, you get better. So it's
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
that's
rocket
beautiful.
science.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, I mean, very similar approach that I take is that one thing, right? I call it the one thing.
right,
I mean, first of all, your brain can't focus on more than one thing,
right.
and if you don't change that one thing, the rest of it is not going to matter. So, 100%. You
Yeah,
guys have done a great job. That's fantastic, and I love the promise. I love the promise. I mean, look, because here's what you do: if you make the promise, you don't live up to it. You either figure out a way to
100%.
live up to that promise, or you got to
Yeah,
stop, right? So
yeah.
that's really I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's funny, man? It's hard to hire other instructors because, to your
Mm.
point, I'll say to them, I'll say, "Hey, man, like, how many people do you teach?" "Oh, I teach a lot." "Okay, well, how many is a lot? How many people come back? What's your average cost?" I start going through some numbers with them, and you know where I'm going with this. They don't know any of
Yeah,
that
they don't know.
information,
They don't know any of it.
right?
Mm-mm.
And, you come in and take a lesson, and, Todd's the instructor or Todd's the student, and you come in and, "Hey, Todd, what do you want to work on today?" And I'm like, "Dude, if any of our instructors say that, we're fired." Right?
What do you wanna
I
work
mean,
what do you wanna work on it's like, I'm here to you tell me I'm here
yeah,
for
I
you
mean,
to tell me, yeah. It's like
right.
going to a doctor. Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah,
never made any sense. You're absolutely right, man. So, we find it hard to hire the traditional golf instructor. I was reading one of your things in preparation for this, and you talked about, look, certification is one thing, but the passion about doing it is a total different thing, right?
yeah.
And I think a lot of instructors get wrapped up in teaching golf, into wearing nice clothes, into walking around and doing certain things, but
The
they're
at
not
the PGA
really good
show
at it.
at
Yeah.
the PGA show, we call the prototypes, walking around, all the
100%.
protos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. All right, man, so you got a new book out. It's a very interesting book. You wrote it with AI, not the AI didn't write the book like a lot of authors, right? You actually, I thought it was hysterical. You credit AI in the book, right, as like a
Yeah.
co-author. Tell us about that project and how it even came to be.
Yeah, it was an complete accident. I go to Pebble Beach quite a bit. I have some clients out there. I fly in there. I was really lucky to spend time out there as much as I do. I actually going out there Monday again. But I go out there and in the wintertime in Pebble Beach, it's dark at 5 o'clock and we can't get on the golf course.
Right.
Even though my buddies have these indoor simulators and stuff and training, I'm in the hotel room sometime around 6 o'clock and I have a pretty decent YouTube channel, so I get these haters on YouTube all the time. So I go in there and I use AI and I'm like, okay, this guy, I want to be nice to this guy. Here's what he said. What's a good way to respond to this? And so I'm feeding these comments to AI, and AI is like, well, this is really a good way to look at this. Here's what how you know. So I'm using it, but pretty soon I'm putting these comments in. I'm like, AI is kind of learning, kind of learning everything that I'm kind of telling it about the single plane swing. And I finally just said to AI, listen, why don't I just teach you everything I know, the biomechanics, the single plane swing, the things Moe Norman taught me? How about if I put it all in with you and I'll teach you what I know about the single plane swing? And AI was like, okay, great, let's go. So I end up having this conversation with AI, teaching it from start to finish, just like this conversation we're having here. Tell me about what you teach. And all of a sudden, 3 nights in a hotel room, 3 hours every single night, I have this manuscript, right? And it's me prompting AI and AI asking a question, then I answer it, AI asks a question, then I answer it. It becomes a conversation. So I'm looking at this manuscript, I'm like, God, I don't know if I've ever found a better way to tell my talk about my instruction. I mean, instruction is tough in books because it's like, do this, here's where your hand should be, set up
Yeah.
like this, put your so golf instructions or golf instruction books. This one is a conversation. It brings you into the conversation and logically puts you to do things in the conversation. So I gave this to my buddy. Of course, whenever you do something like this, you give it to your buddies that are close to you
Right.
because they'll be the critics, right? And
Yeah.
so I give it to my buddies. I'm like, read this, give me a objective opinion about this. They're like, Todd, this thing's really good. It really makes this understandable. I'm like, cool. So now I published a book in 2014. So now I was kind of nervous for this though, because I didn't want to tell my publisher that I just wrote a book with AI. So I sent it to my publisher, and the first thing she says is, "Are you really going to tell people that you wrote a book with AI?" I'm like, "Well, I think I should put it on the cover." I said,
Yeah.
"I said read it," or I said, "Read it and get back to me." Well, my editor calls me and he goes, "Todd, this is pretty good." He goes, "This is really good." He goes, "We really like this book." And I'm like, and they wouldn't say that. They would chunk it out the window if they thought they would
Yeah,
not put their
sure.
name on it if it was crap, right? Because they're
Right.
a publishing company. So I said, "Well, let's illustrate it." So the most of the effort was just a little bit of editing, but we left it pretty much dialogue from Claude, which is the AI. AI named himself. He created a persona, and I don't know if people know much about AI, but you can have it create a character. So I made it a golfer. I made AI a golfer, and I said, "You're going to be a golfer, and I know you can't swing a golf club, and you can't put your hands on a golf club, but you can certainly be a golfer when we go through this conversation." And so he personifies a golfer and asks all the right questions, and so the book evolved like that, then we illustrated it, and I basically people don't know, but I did all the illustrations myself in the book,
Wow.
so
Hey now.
that
Multi-talented. Who knew?
that took a long time, by the
I
way,
bet,
yeah.
right?
But anyway, yeah, so then I had this really cool book, and I it's gotten a lot of traction. We've sold probably, I don't know, already Amazon just ordered 4,000 copies, and it hasn't even, it's been a presale on Amazon, it
Yeah,
launches
that's
on
awesome.
Tuesday. So, yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a really fun project, but again, it's been one of those things where it excites me because I get to, kind of do the same thing I've been doing for a long time, but present it in a fun and more, entertaining way, and then there's a workbook that goes with it, and so it's just been a blast. It's been really fun
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, the AI thing is interesting. One of the things we prided ourselves on is we gave everyone a written lesson recap after every session, right? And a plan and a practice drills and all this stuff, right? We have some proprietary drills that we developed as well. And so this was all in writing after the lesson. And 10 years ago, that was unheard of. Nobody was doing that, right?
Right.
So and then AI comes on. And by the way, that took a lot of time. Like I don't know, our average instructor does 8 hours a day, right? Lesson wise, and then to do another hour of homework, that's a big commitment, right?
Yeah.
But now with AI, you can put it in there, and if this is Todd's 3rd lesson, it remembers Todd's 1st and 2nd lesson, and before you know it, you are, in fact, having conversation about Todd with AI, and
Yeah.
I'm done 8 to 10 lesson recaps. I'm done in, like, 10, 15 minutes now.
That's huge. It's huge for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's
monitor
amazing,
our instructors' time too, because we do a lot of online instruction and,
right?
we can cut their time by, if it's average 8 to 10 minutes per review, we can cut that down to 5, 6 minutes, which is huge because these guys are doing, 20, 30 reviews a day.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Yeah.
It's amazing. So your book, in 2014, was that the vertical swing line? Is that the one you were talking
The
about?
single plane swing, yeah.
Yeah,
Play
single
better
plane
golf the
swing.
Moe Norman way,
Yeah,
yeah.
play better. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
more of a tabletop desk, book,
Got it.
all graphics, so a beautiful book. I wouldn't
Yeah,
do it again, that was brutal, but yeah,
yeah, yeah.
books are difficult.
It's a la I got 2 going right now, man. Biggest mistake I've ever made.
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
It's a labor of love, man. Um, Tell me about like why like Bryson met Mo, right? And Bryson
Mhm.
was I met Bryson a couple times. He's absolutely that propeller head persona kind of person, right? So him and Mo, I could imagine those two in a room, and they probably were perfect together, right?
Yeah.
Mo was a man of very small word, like didn't speak a lot, right? And would only speak almost when spoken to, kind of thing, right? Um, Talk to me like why hasn't more um notoriety come of that single plane, right? Because I think many golfers are at the point like, hey, man, I'll do anything to get better, right? I'll sign on with the devil if I can get better. Why do you think it doesn't get the notoriety that it should, you think?
I don't think people understand it. I mean, if I sat in a room, in which I've done this, like, at the Toronto Golf Show, I remember it's been a few years, but I did a presentation at the Toronto Golf Show, and, I'm the 5th presenter of a swing method, and so
Right.
you have one guy present, and then the next guy presents, and the next conventional present, and I get up there and I basically say all that. I don't say this, verbatim, but what I present is, "Here's a single plane, and you can eliminate rotation of the body. I can if I put myself in a side bend initially at the beginning, I can take the rotation out of the trail side, and all of a sudden, I present basically what this guy back here just the opposite of what he just presented, and so I just think people get confused, and I don't think they understand it. But if you sat me in a room and said, "Todd, just explain your swing to this group of 1,000 people," most of them would leave that room going, "Well, why doesn't everybody do it that way?"
Yeah.
I mean, it's so simple, and it's just understanding. It's understanding, and people are very, very, influenced by what they see on TV. Well, which and by the way, Daniel, they don't know what they're seeing on TV. They don't understand
100%.
what they're seeing, right?
Yeah,
But
100%.
they're very influenced, like, well, the latest winner, let's do it that way. Cam Young, let's pause at the top.
Yeah.
Let's just
Let's fade the ball.
let's
I want to fade the
let
ball.
I gotta
Right.
fade. They all fade the ball. So it's the winner of the week, and so again, it goes back to our conversation about biomechanics. Because that's where you have to take the conversations. Like, let's find the easiest way to do this. Let's forget about what Scheffler does. Forget about what Rory does. They all do great things in their swing, by the way. I mean, of course they do. But let's just find the simplest way for the body to hit a golf ball, and then we'll work you towards that. You're gonna look different than me doing it. Like, I don't look exactly like Mo,
Right.
and no one's gonna look exactly like me. But there's biomechanics to it, and the club should move a certain way. And if we can simplify the movement of the club, we can hit a golf ball better. So that's where I think it has to go. And I think if people understood it, not sure they ever will, but I mean, my mission is to help many people as kind of understand it as I can. I draw a plane line on the screen. That's my litmus test to a golf swing, right? You start there, the club will go onto it in the backswing, and it'll come down, and it'll impact on it. There's your litmus test. When we get that to happen, you hit a golf ball well. It's pretty simple. It's not hard. Not a lot of deviation in the shaft movement. I don't wanna see that. And when people see that, they're like, "God, it just makes so much sense." But I don't think people ever get to that point. They keep looking at the latest guy on tour, and then they get to the question of, "Well, did Mo lose distance?" He didn't hit it very far, which there is absolutely no evidence that Mo hit it short. Now, I met Mo when he was 64. I
Right.
know when I played golf with him 100 times, he was not short by any means. Now, I'm not saying he's the longest ball striker in the world, but he's hitting at 260, 270 when he's 64 back in the early 90s, mid 90s. And people don't understand the game has wrapped itself so much in the distance thing, and I run into that every single conversation I have
Yeah.
about it because when you were playing back there on the tour and I was, John Daly led the driving distance at 288 in
Yeah.
'89, right?
Yeah.
288. 288's short on the tour today,
100%. Yeah.
you
And
know?
by the way,
And s
Mo didn't miss a green or miss a fairway for like 7 years he had to run,
Yeah, I mean,
right? So who cares about distance? I mean,
well, exactly, and the thing is that but people get caught up in that, and then I mean, you ask the question, what keeps people from adopting it more? They have these preconceived ideas about what it takes to play great golf, and then the distance factor gets in there, and they think you gotta hit it 340 yards to play. Even today's day, I mean, I caddied, in the, Amex in Palm Springs this year. I caddied 4 rounds out there in the tournament and
yeah, you got a
I got
good life,
inside the
man. You got a really
I
good life.
I got inside the ropes, man. It was so fun, but I got to watch the guys play, and I'm like, I was very impressed. And I know a lot of the tour players, so I was very impressed by the guys. I got to hang out with them, hit balls with them, loved every minute of it. They're amazing athletes. They're just amazing athletes. I mean, gosh, Billy Horschel, the guy's a monster. I was standing next to him. He's 3-4 inches taller than me, and he's this
Yeah.
wide, and
Yeah.
he's strong, right? I mean, these guys are great. So there's a lot of athleticism that goes involved with hitting it 330 yards too. But my point is that people just don't understand really what's going on, and that keeps people from really looking at probably where they should be looking, which is what's the easiest way to do this, not what does so and so do, like Rory or whatever.
Yeah. Todd, you've done it all, man. I mean, you're one of the top instructors in the country. You have you're building out this facility, right? 72 acres I saw, 6 holes.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like a dream for every instructor, right?
yeah, I love
What's
it.
what's next for you, man? You've done almost everything in golf instruction. What's next for you?
Oh, I got passion projects I think that I'm working on right now. I'm working on a documentary about Moe with a team in California. A guy named Barry Morrow who wrote the movie Rain Man. He's
Yeah.
on in the project. So we're working on that. It's been a long time to get that done, but I think I finally have the right team. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm lucky. I get to spend my time on my passion and my love. And I mean, it takes me a lot of different places. I mean, I'm busy. I got another book in the works that I'm working on, but these are all fun projects for me. I love to teach. I tell you what, my biggest issue is I don't get to teach enough. I love teaching. I love helping people. I love the one-on-one with people. I can't afford to do it as much as I used to be able to do it because of where I am in my business, but I still love that. So if I can get out there and teach, I love to do that. So I'm gonna try to get a little on the under the I actually 25 years ago, I didn't wanna be on the ra I was spending too much time on the range, right? I was
Yeah.
like, I was spending 10 hours a day out there. And now I wanna get back out there because I don't spend enough time out there, so it's the catch-22 of it all, but it's, I love that, and so I'm looking forward to that. But the company here, we have 17 employees inside the academy here, a lot of different aspects of the business that I really love digging into. Obviously, we're building some greens. We're putting a par 3 course in around the clubhouse here, so I'm working on that. It's
Amazing.
kinda fun. It's all fun. It's all great.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing, man. What would you say to where do you think golf instruction in general is going? Do you think it's actually gonna make some headway? Do you think it's gonna be more traditional, same old, same old? What do you think?
Well, I think it's up to you and me. I think our focus on like I think you do an amazing job, and I think the just this the quality that you're giving people, the way you instruct, and the biomechanics background that you have, and the way you follow up with people, and that I think it's going to take more of that. But it's not going to come from the PGA.
Mm,
It's not gonna come from the breeding ground of golf pros. It's gonna come from guys like you and me that are independent guys. You're a business guy like I was,
yep.
and you're gonna step back and say, "I'm not even a PGA member, by the way." I mean, I never saw the value in being a PGA member.
Same.
I was a Canadian PGA member when I was playing on the tour,
Yeah.
but I'm not a PGA member in the US. It's not that I don't think that I have a lot of PGA friends that I really respect. My brother's a PGA member, but it's not gonna come from, a canned approach like that. It's gonna come from guys like you and me, entrepreneurs that look at it and go, "There's a better way to do this, and there's a better way to present this, and we're gonna keep, iterating it." Because my biggest the reason I've become really good at what I do is I iterate. I learn and I change. I keep learning and changing, learning and changing, learning and changing. I keep getting better and better and better. If you think you understand it, you don't. You don't I learn every day, whether it's from a student that I'm having trouble helping, or, something, biomechanically that I'm learning on from the science of it. But I think it's gonna take what we do. It's gonna take that level of thinking from biomechanics applied to the game of golf and instruction. I think it's gonna take that. I don't know. I mean, Greg Rose, obviously he's a big
Amazing.
contributor in this world,
Yeah.
but amazing, yeah. So it's gonna take that, and it's gonna to get a better standard, I think, of golf instruction out there. So, I don't know
Yeah.
if but it's hard, right? It's hard to experience, nothing's better than experience. You've taught how many thousands of people through your
Yeah.
place, and you've seen it all. You can
Yeah.
watch a golf swing, and I mean, you give an hour lesson, but within a minute and a half exactly what you gotta work on.
Yeah,
And you it
100%.
th this you watch him at one golf ball, you know exactly what you gotta work on. It's
Yeah.
just so easy for you, you
I'm
know?
about 6 or 7, but I could definitely do it. I see
6,
what you're
7, yeah, I
saying.
mean,
Yeah.
okay, gotta warm up a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's interesting you asked or mentioned Rose, man. I saw him at the PGA show and sat down with him, man, and I to say he's a friend would be a stretch, but I've talked to him multiple times and, definitely at one of the clinics we ever, had some FaceTime with him. I asked him the same question, man, and he was almost awestruck by, like, he really didn't know where to go with the answer because he doesn't wanna bash the PGA, I get that, right? But he didn't have a clear definitive answer either. He basically said things got to change and we got to start looking at the data more intensely. I think I'm not quoting him exactly, but he's a big data guy, and he doesn't, at Imagine Golf, if it's not evidence-based or rooted in fact, we don't teach it. I don't care. This drill with a towel underneath both arms and all, we don't do any of that bullshit, right? Because
Yep.
it's bullshit, right?
Yep.
So, but there are plenty of drills that you can do that, thwart someone's ability to go over the top, to stop early extending and all that stuff. It's funny, man. We have 6 facilities. In all of our facilities, we have an explainer, that single ring, right? And we throw people in that explainer and we get them swinging on that, and we just quiet and like, hey, this is what your body does when you swing appropriately. And it's amazing to see their faces, Todd. They're like, oh my God, how can I get one of these things? Right.
Yeah.
But all
Yeah.
my contemporaries laugh at that. Right. But it definitely helps people understand the mechanics of their own body. And then we just apply that to the lesson, Matt. So, well, Todd, listen, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I don't often get out to Oklahoma. I wish I did, but
Yeah.
if you ever get to the East Coast, man, look me up, man. We'll play some golf. And
I will. I actually, I was there twice 2 months ago, so I'm gonna look you up when I get back up there. I'm sure I'll be back there next couple months, so I
yeah,
will.
sounds great. All right, everyone. This is Todd Graves, the owner, co-founder, right? You and your brother Tim, of Graves Golf Academy. And is it the Performance Center, Graves Performance Center?
Yeah, it's called the Graves Golf Performance Center here in Edmond. Yep, and the course we built an infinity golf course. It's 6 holes that play like a figure 8, so we call the golf course infinity. You can go out there and play and come back. It's a 2-hour golf experience. We want people
Very
out there
cool.
practice and train, so it's really cool. Yeah,
All right, I got to get out there, man. All right,
come on,
thank you very
anytime.
much. Yeah, man, I look forward
Thanks,
to reading
Daniel.
your book, man. See you soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, bye. All right, then. That's today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the follow button wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check out our site, IMAGENGolf.com. Check out our YouTube page at Imagine Golf, and we're on all the social media platforms. I'm the same, at Imagine Golf. And here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined. You've heard all the golf tips. You've watched a million golf videos on keep your head down, turn your hips, check your grip pressure, you're swinging too fast, and frankly, it's overwhelming and just flat out noisy. So stop listening to the noise. Traditional golf instruction is way too complicated, and honestly, it isn't based on any facts, and it just doesn't work. At Imagine Golf, we clear the clutter. We focus on the simple, evidence-based athletic moves that actually work and stick. Experience the Imagine Promise. If you don't get better in just one lesson, your lessons are free. So stop practicing your mistakes and start playing better golf today. Book your lessons at ImagineGolf.com, and golf better guaranteed.